Okay, so I mean, I think we went past this a little bit, but I think this is a good place to start with this. We're in Perek Dalet. Perek Dalet, the paragraph that says Gamal Zois Yecherad Leiv. So to summarize, we'll just review где мы были, куда мы пришли, right? So we said that he started out talking что человек был создан целым Элоким, right? And he wanted to know what exactly is целым Элоким. So specifically, he wanted to know why Elokim, of all the different names, why Elokim. And then he said, что, right? So Elokim means Balakoichos Kulam, is the master of all, the power of all powers. There is the source of all forces. So Tzelem Elokim means that Hashem made Adam, made human beings also to be He put him in control, to be the valve, so to speak, for all of the forces out there. And if He opens the valve, so then these worlds, the lofty worlds, the spiritual worlds, which are, which make the creation possible, so then they get filled up with this film that continues to recreate itself every single moment. And if a person does not open the valve to that kedusha, so then they don't get their life sustenance, and then those worlds get destroyed, right? And then he took it to the next level, and he said that so everything, every action, every speech, and every thought has this effect. As every single human being cannot say, a Jewish person cannot say, who am I? Like in the big scheme of things, of all the people in the world, what kind of an effect do I have? I understand the Gondolador, I understand, the president, I don't know, whatever it is. They're big people in the world. They have an effect on life, on the life cycle of the world. What effect do I have? So he says, no, you cannot say such a thing. He says, every person, with everything they say, everything they think, everything they do, every prat to prat, he says, every little detail has an impact on the entire movie, so to speak. As it gets recreated each and every second and every moment, there's a new kind of a new shot, right? So every person has an effect on that. I think it's more than just the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is part of like the random of everything kind of has a domino effect. This is a direct effect that Hashem says, you are the Elokim, you are the God of over these worlds, so to speak. You are as if you are the God over these worlds. And if you continue to pump the film gets pumped. If you don't continue to pump the film does not get, does not shoot. So it's all in your hands, right? And then he took it to the next level, and he said that if you truly understand, then you realize that every person has more a person's negative actions have more repercussions than even the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash by Nebuchadnezzar and Titus, right? They just able to destroy the woods and the stones, right? Right. But every Jew is the actual destructions happens from the Jews, or the Jews in that generation that happened. So they had the effect. And so too, even right now, he says basically, right, that the Beis Hamikdash. Why? Because there's a Beis Hamikdash over here. There's a Beis Hamikdash on top, like we said, the Yaakov saw in his dream, right? The Sulam, Mutzav Arza, from the bottom to the top. And so if the spiritual Beis Hamikdash is okay, then the physical Beis Hamikdash is okay. If the spiritual Beis Hamikdash is not okay, then the physical Beis Hamikdash is not okay. And who decides what the spiritual Beis Hamikdash is okay? That's our actions, right? So that's why. So when we destroyed the spiritual Beis Hamikdash, Yerushalayim Shel Ma'ala, so then the Nebuchadnezzar and Titus can come and destroy the shell that remained. Good. So that's where we up to. And then he also summarized this from Pirkei Avos. The Pirkei Avos says, "Dama l'mayla mimcha." Know what's above you, right? Right. Well, and then he lists what it thinks, but he says that you could read it a different way. Dala malamayla mimcho. That know that what's above you from you. Right? It's whatever is above you is from you. Okay, so now we're up to here. Gamal zois yecherad lev ha'odam me'am ha'kodesh. So he says gam means also. Al zois on this yecherad should tremble the lev ha'odam, every man of a person me'am ha'kodesh, from the holy nation. Shu koilel betavnisoy Kola koichus va'olam kula, because he, in his form, in his tavnisa, in his structure, he includes kola koichus va'olam kula. He includes all of the powers and all of the worlds, all of them, right? So basically, so we said that this comes from the idea that the world, right? When we talk, this is even though he said in the very beginning of the book, he said, I'm not going the the Kabbalah interpretation of what Tzelem Elokim means. That's like a whole huge thing. I'm only speaking in simple talk, right? Like the Pashtonim and Rishonim, like the the Rishonim that are speaking Poshet Pshat, right? Tzelem Elokim means in some form some kind of a similarity, but in reality, right? If you see that all of what he's saying is actually based on Torah Sanist, or on what we call Kabbalah, right? So basically, and the idea over there is that like we said, that the olam, the world is a big man, right? Man is a small world, and the world is a big man, right? So therefore, the human being is not just at the pinnacle of creation. It is also the microcosm of the whole creation. Everything that in the human being, every part of the human being, is somehow represents, mirrors everything else that's in the creation. So therefore, every action of that, like whatever it is, the Ramach Evorim, the 248 also limbs that a person has, are parallel to the 248 mitzvahs, which are parallel to the whole creation. It's all like you're like a little miniature model. So when that model does that, then the big model follows, right? So Gamal Zois Yechrad Levo Odom HaMakodesh. So therefore, upon this, every person from HaMakodesh should tremble. Because he holds in his structure all of the worlds and all of the powers, all of them. This will be elaborated in chapter 6 and whatever it is. Fine, and also in the second shar in Parak Shehein Hema Kodesh VaMikdash Elyon, because they are, meaning they are that our limbs parallel to the kodesh, to the holy, and the mikdash, to the base of mikdash elyon that's above, right? So, and this is also again, this comes to the idea, which is going to develop also later, is that, right, originally when Hashem said, right, v'osu li mikdash, right, build for me a base of mikdash, right, v'shachanti b'seichom, and I will dwell in you, right? So now, but the word in you is plural over there. Build for me a mikdash, v'shachanti b'seichom, and I will dwell in you, you people. So it's and that's where Rashi said the idea that the original plan really was not to build the base of mikdash. The original plan that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was supposed to rest in every single individual, right? But then they messed up with the golden calf, they messed up with the Egel Azov, and he said, you know what? Right now I can't have this direct resting place upon the Jewish people. You need some kind of a visual representation. So the Beis HaMikdash is also built Keneged, again, the Beis HaMikdash Shalmaila, which also represents the same koiches that the human being mirrors, right? The same koiches, meaning the whole thing, really, everything, there's a macrocosm, so to speak. The creation, there's a microcosm, that's the human being. There's the Beis HaMikdash. They all fit this model. They all have these same,
so universe,
quote unquote,
human person, and Beis HaMikdash.
Right. They all represent this Tzelem Elokim, so to speak, this image of God. That's really where it comes from. They all represent the basic blueprint upon which the whole world was created, right? Because Hashem cannot really create something that's, I don't know, Hashem can't. I mean, we can't create something totally different from Him, right? The world, the entire creation is an emanation of Him, right? And when you create something, if you were to write a book, if you were to draw, if you're an artist and you create a picture, it's an extension of you. Somebody could look at this and can say, oh, he comes from this aspect of your personality. This comes from that aspect of your personality. Everything that we create, all our actions really is an extension of us. And again, somebody who's a psychologist can say, oh, you know what? This you did here, it's because, when you were like a teenager, you did this and that. And so this still remained in your personality and it continues to come out till today, right? So the same thing when Hashem created the world. Everything that He created is an extension of Him. So right, so to speak, at least. So therefore, so the world, the human being, and the Beis Hamikdash, they are the best mirrors of that original blueprint upon which the whole creation is founded, right? So he continues. Va'alev ha'odam, in the heart of a person, emtzeisa de gufa, is the middle of the body. Hu kloliyos hakol. It is the epicenter of everything. Neged beis kodesh hakadoshim. It is parallel to the kodesh hakadoshim, to the holy of holies, which is considered emtza hayishuv, the center of the settlement, meaning the center of the world. Evan shesiya, the setting stone, right? The stone from which the entire world was created. The cornerstone. It also includes in itself, the heart of a person includes in itself it's the root of all, the root and the source for all of the holinesses. And this is the Chazal, the Chachamim, they were meramis to this. They hinted at this in brachas. When a person davens, he has to be mechaven his heart towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim, toward the holies of holies, right? Which means direct his heart towards the holies of holies, because that's the connection. The connection is that my heart is parallel to the holy of holies. And now he's going to have proof from this. The interesting part about the Sefer is that for everything he says, he's got like proof after proof after proof, right? For the source, and it's like, he brings a Zohar here and a Zohar there and the Ramban here. It's all like, and not like he's almost never satisfied with just one proof. Which, by the way, again, this is something that always led me to believe that he needed to prove something to somebody. Meaning, it wasn't just like, if HaChaim wasn't writing a book. If he tells me that, listen, the heart is connected to Kodesh HaKadoshim, and the person is a tavnus of Beis Hamikdash, I hear it. I don't need, I don't need him to bring the Zohar to prove to me, that this is indeed so. But that's what he's going to do. And again, to me, it feels like he wants to drive him the message really home. He's trying really hard to drive a certain message home, which maybe he's talking to Hasidim of the generation, which were kind of, moving away. So he needed to, the flashy Zohars to prove that, we Litvish guys also know these things, I don't know, but I'm saying, but we also see that whatever proofs that he does bring, it's probably like, we're talking about like one millionth of what he was able to. The genius is of the genius of HaChaim Voloshin is not even to begin to understand. Anyways, so he says B'Zohar Shlach. So if you look at B'Zohar in Parsha Shlach. So again, I'm skipping to I don't know if you have a translation. I have the Hebrew translation of the Aramaic. So I'm reading the Hebrew translation of the Aramaic. Boy ure'ei, come and see. Kasher bara Kodesh Baruch Hu Odom ba'olam. Do you have that? You don't have it.
No, it's Aramaic, yeah.
No, but after the Aramaic, you have a copy of what I have. So in brackets, if you look further down,
yeah.
that's the Hebrew. Okay, so but you don't have it, so maybe I should read the Aramaic. Okay. No, but this is not it.
No, this is right here.
I'll move it here.
No, we hear it.
Okay, move it here. Tochaze. Okay, so I'll read the Aramaic. Okay, so Tochazi. To means come in Aramaic. Tochazi, come and see. So just like in Gemaras they say Toshma, like when they bring a proof they say Toshma, come and hear. And Zohar uses Loshon Tochazi, come and see. Kad Baruch Shabrichu Barnash Be'alma, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Barnash. Barnash literally means son of man. Nash is like short for Enosh, right? Barnash means son of man, Be'alma, in the world. Askin like Gavna Iloyakira. He fixed for him like the way of the like it is above Yakira, the lofty, the precious way of above. The Havle Chele, and he gave him Chele, strength, to Sukfei, and another word for strength. be'imtziisa de gufo, in the middle of his heart, the tamon shari oliba, because for there rests the heart. And then he skips and he continues, Gavna do, like this example, askin kuchabrichu alma. Similarly, like this example, like Kosh Baruch Hu created the world, ve'ovid le chad gufa, and he made for it one body. Ve'liba sharoi be'imtzeusa, and the heart of the world also rests in the middle. The who took for the kula, for that's the strength of it, of everything. The kula be'italian, and everything else depends on it. Ve'aheichel lebeis kodesh hakadoshim, and the heichel to the base kodesh hakadoshim, the tamon shchina, because for over there is shchina v'chaporis. Chaporis is the thing that's on top of the aron kodesh. Ukruvim and kruvim v'aron and aron kodesh, right? V'hocha hu libo the kol ara v'alma. And this is the heart of all land and all the entire world. Umihocha itzono, and from here, itzono means gets the sustenance. The rest of the world gets the sustenance from the heart. Okay, so basically he's saying that the Kodesh HaKadoshim represents the heart of the person, just like the heart pumps the blood and brings nourishment to the rest of the body, brings oxygen and nutrients, right, carries to the rest of the body. So too the Beis HaMikdash is the heart of the world, or specifically the Kodesh HaKadoshim, where the Shekhinah is, and that pumps the source, that's the heart of the world, and it pumps the food to the rest of the world, spiritual food, but also physical food, which is why, right, the way the benching is set up, right, there are 3 brachas to our benching, right? The first bracha is called Birchas Hazon, right? That's about food, right? Hazon Asakol, that's really where we thank Hashem for the food. The second blessing is about Eretz Yisrael, because Eretz Yisrael is the thing that provides the food. If we live in Eretz Yisrael, right? So the potato that I'm eating is a potato that I dug up from the soil of Eretz Yisrael, right? But the third blessing is Yerushalayim, V'nei Yerushalayim and HaKodesh, right? That's the third blessing. That's all about Yerushalayim. Why Yerushalayim? What's the Yerushalayim got to do with my everyday eating? Why am I? Right, because the source of all food really comes from Yerushalayim, because that's the all of success of the world. The Shachanti b'seichom is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ability to rest upon the world, rest in Yerushalayim, and therefore all sustenance comes from there as well. Okay, so Ayin Shom Ba'orech. So look there in more detail. So then he continues. Therefore, be'eis asher yitur ha'odam lachshav bilvavoi, that when a person has kind of yitur from v'loi sasur, right? Do not stray, don't follow. And so when a person follows to think in his heart, machshava asher lo yitahor b'niyuf, rachmana litzlan, a thought that's not pure, b'niyuf, let's say in adultery, right? So a person fantasizes, basically, adulterous thoughts. He brings in the prostitute, the same way that Titus brought the prostitute into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, into the physical representation of it. When a Jew thinks unholy thoughts, then he brings the prostitute directly into the Kodesh HaKadoshim.
Unholy thoughts are like the worst you can do.
Right. So in this sense, machshava, right? What's more pnimi?
What's worse, having bad thoughts or actually doing it?
No question that is doing it that's worse. But doing it when a person willfully is doing an avera, the thoughts are there as well, right? Yeah. If for example, if somebody ties you down and or drugs you up and you have an avera and only your body is involved, very possibly, again, I don't know exactly what's worse, but very likely the thoughts, willful thoughts without the body are worse than just body by itself,
So
without any thoughts.
Having bad thoughts or stealing?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
That's a crazy idea, because according to this, one may think that having bad indecent thoughts, it's actually
right. This is a general thought. On one hand, I don't want to minimize it. On the other hand, obviously,
it's bigger. It's big.
It's it's more complicated than this. Meaning, assuming that every person is different and everybody's arm reach is different, and there's no question that
Very strong statement.
it's a bold global statement. I mean, it's understandable that these illicit thoughts are almost part and parcel of who we are as men, right? The male brain is vulnerable to illicit thoughts, right? So you're telling me that every time you succumb to some thought, that's it, you destroyed the base of English. You like it's an idea, but obviously it's it's got its limitations. You didn't. How should I say? He didn't destroy the base of English like 300 times a day, and it's just it's to a degree. I mean, it's understandable. We understand that the thoughts do go deep. That's the point. The point that we need to take out, that the thoughts go deeper than we think they go, and they have an impact. Where you think like, what did I do? What did a person do? He's in his he's in his basement. He's watching his whatever he's watching. He's thinking whatever he's thinking, and unfortunately, like in the rest of the world, like who cares? Like, what's the big deal? And we're saying no. The point is that the entire creation is more than what you see, and you're directly connected to it, and everything that happens inside of you, outside of you, it all has a direct impact. And that's the scary thought here.
Поэтому монахи постоянно, no, but good thoughts.
Right. Positive. No, it does. They for sure. They had these. They come and go for in Boston someplace in some hospital. They go for brain scanning. The Buddhist monks, they go for brain scanning, and they show that they are naturally more positive than your average person. Meaning, you see that if a prolonged amount of certain type of thinking becomes, it's like water. When water runs through a certain ground, it develops a path, and that path will, it remains. So which is important. That's why we also daven. Our davening, it can create potential if you keep the right, if a person has the right thoughts by davening, or Shabbos, all of these key crucial times, then you don't need to be some Buddhist monk in some Tibetan temple. You could just if you do what Hashem wants you to do it right, then you're gonna have the same or even stronger effect also. Okay. Anyway, so a person who has these unholy thoughts, it's as if he's bringing the Zayna into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, into the Holy of Holies. And he strengthens, God forbid, the powers of Tuma v'Sitra Achra, and the other side, right? You're familiar with this term, Sitra Achra, this other side, right? In the Holy of Holies that's above. Harba yoiser v'yoiser, much more, nigram hatikboiris koyach atuma, more than what was caused of strengthening of koyach atuma li'idei titus, through the act of titus, ba'atzia zoyne v'veis kodesh kadoshim b'migdash Shalmata, through what Titus accomplished by bringing the physical zoyne into the Beis Hamikdash Shalmata. V'chein, so he says, continues, v'chein kol chet, and therefore any sin, asher kol ish Yisrael machnis beliboy, that a person from Israel enters into his heart, chas v'sholem, eish zora bekas. For example, it's a strange fire, eish zora, it's an external fire. It could be bekas, through anger, or ishare taiva Yisroel, or other unholy desires, Rachmana litzlan, right? These are fires, right? Fire of anger, fire of desire. Haloi humamish ki inyan hakosov, he is really doing what the pasuk says, Beis kochenu v'sifartenu, our holy house, and the source of our beauty, asher hoyo l'sreifas eish, which was, in the burning of the fire. So when a person brings the fire of anger and the fire of desire into his body, he is symbolically, says the HaChaim Volozhin, is symbolically, putting fire into the Beis Hamikdash Ha'elyon. Harachamon is Baruch Shmo Yetzleinu. Right? Blessed be He, should save us. V'zeh she'omer Hashem le'Yecheskel, and this is what Hashem says to Yecheskel. Esmokom kisi, the place of my throne. Again, it's going to skip about the parak. I want to look it up, but it's too late. Asher eshkoin shoim b'seich b'nei Yisrael, which I will reside there amongst the children of Israel oilam forever. V'lo yitamu oid beis Yisrael shem kodshi, and the house of Israel will no longer defile my holy name, biznusam, through their going astray. Ata yirachaku znusam, now they will remove their znus, meaning they're going astray, because the word zoina comes from to go away, to go astray to the side. And then I will be able to dwell in them forever. Right, so he's saying this thing that even though this is talking about even the post the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, people, the Jews he says they continue to defile where I dwell. What do you mean? How did they defile? They defile the Beis Hamikdash Shalom. They defile the Beis Hamikdash that's on top. But if they don't, I will be able to live amongst them forever. Okay, so that's the end of this part. The next, there's a very lengthy Hagah. Like Hagah is where he continues to bring an extra dimension to this idea. And then after the Hagah, there are two more paragraphs to finish off the parak. Let's just do these two paragraphs at the end before the Hagah. We'll skip to the end. I don't think you have it in the copies. I don't have it in the copies. So he says Ubezeh Yuvan HaKosov, and again it goes back to this idea of Tzelem Elokim. Ubezeh Yuvan HaKosov, and with this we can understand the pasuk. Vayitzer Hashem Elokim es ha'odam, and Hashem created the Odom, Ofer min Adom, dust from the earth. And then Vayipach be'apov nishmas chaim, and he breathed into his nose, or into his whatever face, into his nostrils, nishmas chaim, the living soul. Vayhi ha'odom nefesh chayo, and the odom became a living soul. Right? That's the pasuk. So upshutei shel mikra. Now the Targum Onkelos we take as the basic pshat of the pasuk. Vadei hu ketarguma is like the Targum. V'havas ba'odam l'ruach memallo, and by these words, the last four words, v'hi odam nefesh chaya, and the odam became the living soul. He translates v'havas ba'odam, and it became in the man l'ruach memallo, a speaking spirit. Right. So when Hashem breathed the neshama into a person, it became in him the speaking spirit. Okay, meaning this goes from the idea that the essence of a person is his ability to speak, right? A medaber, we say, he's a speaking species, right? So when the neshama, this lofty neshama, went and connected with the body, there created in him the power of speech, and he became a speaking spirit. Right, that's the translation, the basic type of the words vehi ha'odam nefesh chaya, and the person became a living soul. What does it mean, a living soul? Meaning a speaking soul, right? Now, but the problem is v'rotzoloimer. Well, he explains v'rotzoloimer, and this means to say shekasher hoyaguf levade, when the body was by itself, hoyadayin ofer mamash, was really just a piece of clay. It wasn't really anything. It was just a dead matter. Right? It didn't have any life or any ability or any movement. But when it was breathed into him, the nishmas chaim, the living soul, then he became a living man, to be able to move and to be able to speak. Ramban. You can also check with the Ramban over there. But Amnam, however, this is where he makes this point. Amnam Bakro, it's written Vayiba Odom Loiksiv. It's not written and it became in man, the speaking spirit, like the Targum says. Right? It says I breathed into him the soul, and it became in man a speaking spirit. But that's not what it says. It doesn't say in the pasuk Vayiba Odom Nefesh Chayo. It became in man a speaking spirit. Ela Vayihi Ha'odom. The man became the Nefesh Chaya, the living soul. The man became the living soul. It didn't say in the man there became a living soul. It says that the man himself became the living soul.
How's that a problem?
So he says, "Lezois yesh mokum lefarsha al pishin yizbayir." So therefore, we can explain based on what we just previously said, shehaodam benishmas HaChaim shebesoicha, that a person together with the soul which was breathed into him, who nasa nefesh chaya leribois oilamos and mispar, he is the living soul of the entire creation of the myriads of worlds. When Hashem breathed the neshama into the person, he became the living soul. The Adam became the nefesh chai. He became the living soul of what? The soul of what?
Not of
This,
the man,
right,
but
not
of
of
the
the man, but became the soul of the universe. So just like all of that's happening in the body, we understand that happens through the soul, through the spiritual part of us, right? Right? Let's call it let's say my brain. My brain wants me to move this hand, so I move my hand. The hand by itself cannot decide to make a movement. Everything that happens in me happens through the spiritual part of me. Right? Kain ha'odam ha'koyach v'nefesh ha'chaya shel oilomes al yonim v'tachtoinim le'ein shir. So too, the man is the koyach v'nefesh. He is the power and he is the soul, the living soul of all of the lofty, the worlds above and below le'ein shir, that without measure. Shekula misnahagim al yodim, because they are all controlled through his hand. Right? So when it says, right, when he breathes, so he's saying like this, that the basic understanding is like the Targum, which says that it became in him a speaking spirit, the soul became in the man a speaking spirit, but you could also take the Pasuk even more literally, he says, even more literally than the Targum does. Literal is, and the person became a living soul. The person became a living soul. Not the soul in the person became a living soul. The person became a living soul. Living soul to what? You could be a living soul to something, right? The soul is the inner of something, right? Something bigger than the person. So he says, but if we understand it the way we explained, that the person is really the microcosm of creation, so the Vayhi ha'odl nefesh chayo, those words beautifully fit in. The man became the living soul of the entire creation, and so everything that he does, is running the show. He's like the puppet to the whole creation, except the puppet here runs the puppeteer, right? Is pulling the strings. Okay, that's it.